Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I'm here with my spoiler-free review and possibly a rant for Technically You Started It by Lana Wood Johnson. I just had a lot of feelings and things I needed to talk about with this book, and I haven't even filmed my wrap-up yet, and I just know that I have a lot of things to say and I didn't want to try and fit that all into a wrap-up video. So here we go. Technically You Started It is a contemporary novel that is told entirely in text messages between two characters. One of the main characters is Haley, and one day she gets a text from a boy in her class named Martin, and there's two boys in her class who have the exact same name, and she assumes that she knows which one it is, and she answers back assuming it's this other person, and they start messaging back and forth, and this develops into a friendship. But the problem is that Haley doesn't actually know which Martin she's talking to. She thinks she does, and Martin doesn't know that she doesn't know who he is, because one of the Martins in her class is somebody that she actually hates, and so everything kind of develops from there. This is not a book that I think everybody's going to hate. I'm actually kind of surprised that I disliked it as much as I did, because I had heard some kind of like not great reviews for it, but I thought that if I didn't like it, it would just be kind of one of those like mediocre, like it was fine but I'm never going to think about it again books, and I actually really disliked this book. So starting off with the writing and general formatting stuff of this book, right off the bat this book made a really interesting choice, because for the first chunk, like 90% of their interactions and humor and banter came from like incredibly specific references to an AP US history class. And I don't know about y'all, but it's been a few years since I was in AP US history. It just seemed odd to me that so much of the humor would be based on a very particular thing like this. Obviously, if you're at all familiar with United States history, like you're gonna pick up on some of it, or maybe even a lot of it, but a lot of their like specific references were for things where it's like, I don't know if somebody who's not currently in an AP US history class would understand this. And there were quite a few references like that, so I think that was kind of distancing right from the beginning. And then the text messages themselves, like the writing of this book, I think was incredibly stilted. And it wasn't just like, oh, no teenager would text like this. Like, I don't think any person would text like this. Like, just some of the way that things were written, like especially with Haley, and it's like, okay, we're supposed to think that she's this person who's very like precise, like she always uses complete sentences in text messages, and like that's fine, I understand that. But the thing that was really weird is the way this was written. It's like nobody would format a text message like that. Like the way she would insert pauses or things like that, it's like that's how somebody would do it if they were speaking to you. Like nobody would put that in a written format, basically. And it just got incredibly distracting because it happened a lot. And when that's the entire book, like the whole book is told in text messages like that, it made it really hard to enjoy the writing. And then possibly the most frustrating thing about the writing or the format is that it made this story so confusing, which is kind of amazing because there's really not a lot happening. Like the plot is basically these two characters getting to know each other and a little bit about other relationships that they have, like friendships and like family drama and stuff like that. So there's not a lot, like there's not a huge cast, there's not like a really complex plot or anything, and it was still impossible to follow what was going on sometimes. Like Haley has a few different friends, and like till the end of the book I probably could not tell you which one was which. Like maybe one of them I could describe to you. And okay, like these two characters are texting each other, obviously they know each other. It's not like they're gonna stop and introduce all of these people that they already know. Like that would feel very unnatural and clearly just be for the benefit of the reader. But I think the author should maybe have done something to kind of catch us up on what was happening, because you're just thrown into the middle of all of these relationships and you're hearing important character stuff like pages and pages and pages before you know who these people are, so that by the time you do figure out who this person is, I feel like you've already forgotten a lot of the stuff you were supposed to know about them. And then another big plot thing I didn't like is this whole secret or like identity misunderstanding. The pacing of that and the reveal was so long and frustrating. Like, you know how usually when there's this kind of mistaken identity plotline, there'll be like that classic like almost reveal moment, the character's like, oh, I have to tell you something, and then they never do. That happened like 4 times in this book, and I hated it. Like this book could have been so much shorter than it was. I don't remember how long it was because I got it from the library, but this book could have been cut a lot if we just took out all of the unnecessary like false starts with the identity thing. I also want to mention that Haley is supposed to be like an incredibly brilliant person, and I understand that doesn't mean that you're gonna know everything right away, but there were so many times where like all of the clues were there and she just like did not understand what was happening. Like it didn't even feel like she was in denial about it. It was like she really couldn't put the pieces together, even when it was extraordinarily obvious. And then moving on to the characters, there are a couple of things that I did like with them, and I want to mention those first. Martin himself, like the other main character, I actually really liked him. I found him really funny and charming and like just like a nice person. Like it was really interesting getting to know him and kind of his family situation and how that has affected him. Like he just seemed like a very nice person that I would like want to be friends with. So that was nice. I mean, by the end, I was getting kind of frustrated with him because again of that whole like identity reveal thing. And then another character positive is there is some good representation in this book. Martin is bisexual and is stated on page, and Haley is, I believe, demi-romantic. I don't remember if she uses the word demi-romantic or demisexual, but that is also explicitly stated on page. And she also has anxiety, and I feel like the anxiety rep seemed to be done pretty well. So those right there were really nice to see. But there were a lot more things about the characters that I really didn't like. It is so hard when you have a format like this, like, you know, the mistaken identity and characters only interacting in a very specific way. It's really hard to have character development or relationship development. Like I understand that, but there are books who get it right. If you guys are interested in one that I feel does get it right, Letters to the Lost by Bridget Kemmerer is a fantastic example of how you can have a like mysterious or mistaken identity type thing where the characters still feel like they get to know each other believably in person and then through whatever form of messaging they are communicating through. But with this book, I don't feel like any of that happened because you set up a situation where the characters don't know who they're talking to, and so then if they ever do find out who they're talking to, it's like we're supposed to believe that they can just transfer all of their emotional attachment to somebody who they thought was a completely different person and then put that on this completely other person. And I just don't find that believable, especially given the fact that Haley over and over talks about how much she hates this other Martin guy. And so like given how much she hates him and how much she hates their in-person interactions, it is so unbelievable to me that she would be able to just completely transfer her feelings from one person to another. I just didn't buy it. And speaking of Haley, I think she was my least favorite part of this book. I did mention that I think the anxiety rep was done well, and there were some things about her life and her personality that I found very relatable and very, I guess, well portrayed or very understandable. Like her loyalty in friendships I thought was very believable, and in some cases very admirable. And then also the way her anxiety affected the way she interacted with people. Like the fact that she was constantly seeking reassurance, or she needed to be told over and over that she mattered to people or that she was important. Like I understand that, I have been through that. I think a lot of us have been through some semblance of that. So that was fine. But as a person, she is awful. Like I just really didn't like her. Like she was one of those classic like not like other girls / like I'm the only nerd girl in the world, and I hated it. Do you guys want to know why Haley is not like other girls? She's nerdy. She listens to podcasts. She reads articles, which, you know, clearly no other girl has ever done. She chose to do an essay question on Richard Nixon, which no one else in the class did. And she also thinks she's too good for the Eiffel Tower. Like those are all real examples of why Haley is supposed to be such an interesting and unique main character. And I just found it so irritating. And even like the not like other girls thing aside, even though I really hate that, if we set that aside for a moment, for somebody who is supposed to be so intelligent and knowledgeable, she is one of the most judgmental and ignorant characters I have ever read about. And she's basically never called on it except in like a really casual kind of joking way. And it happened a lot throughout the book. For example, Martin mentions that he goes to church. She automatically assumes that he is a creationist and he has to correct her about that. She also seems to think that if she can't tell from looking at somebody what is going on with their life, then they must have no problems. Like she can be the only person in the world who has real problems. And then also, going back to the not like other girls thing, she automatically judges every single girl who does not think and act and look exactly like her. Like if you have different things that are important to you than Haley, you're out of luck. She doesn't think you're a good person. There's also this side character named Jack who kind of got a redemption arc near the end, and I didn't want it. He like threatened Haley and he repeatedly called her stupid, and he just seems like he would be an awful boyfriend or friend or just acquaintance. And I kind of hate it that we're supposed to feel like, oh, well she was mean to him, like she's really the one in the wrong here. Like I don't like Haley, but the way that Jack talked to her or about her or interacted with her were awful. And then finally, I sort of touched on this a little bit with the character stuff, but the relationship between Haley and Martin was I think, really unconvincingly developed. And it was also extremely unequal and actually very unpleasant to read about. Like, over and over, Haley makes fun of the things that are important to him, never takes his problems seriously, and in fact tells him over and over that he doesn't have any problems, even though he is clearly going through a really hard time at home. I mean, he tries to deal with it in kind of a humorous way, and I acknowledge that he is very privileged. He acknowledges that too, that he is very lucky to have a very wealthy family and all of that, but the things that he is talking about are still real things that he is going through, and Haley does not accept that. And also, Haley hates on him to his face, or I guess, you know, through text messages. And she doesn't actually know that she is talking about him, because there's the whole Martin confusion thing. She thinks she's talking to the other one when she's talking about how awful his cousin is, and she's actually talking about how awful he is. And I understand that she didn't know that, but the fact that this happened so many times makes their relationship even less believable. Because how could somebody hear someone talk about how much they hate them over and over? Because she does interact with him in person, thinking that he is a different person. Like, how can someone hear that and still be okay with that? Like, still be okay being their friend or being interested in them in any way? Like, I didn't like that. Whereas Martin, on the other hand, he is an incredibly emotionally supportive person. He's always ready to talk to Haley and to make sure she's okay. He makes the effort to share her interests. Like, obviously in person, she doesn't know that it's him doing it, but even over their text messages, he asks about the things that she's interested in. Like, if he doesn't understand something or if he wants to know more about it, he makes the effort to care about it because she cares about it. Haley never does that with anything that Martin likes or cares about or is interested in. And in fact, she usually makes fun of those things to him. I didn't think it was cute. I gave Technically Started it 1.5 stars. Again, kind of surprised I hated this so much. I've seen other reviews from people who thought this was really cute, but clearly it just was not for me. Let me know if you guys have read this book, what you thought of it, or if you will be picking it up. I would be very interested to hear what you think of it afterwards. Because, I mean, clearly there are a lot of people who love it, and it just didn't work for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!